There are so many books about film out there. It seems like more books come out almost on a weekly basis. And there's such a range of them. Some are very scholarly, which are usually a little bit over my head. Some are interview books. Some are making of books, focusing on one film. Some are books about a particular genre. They range in size from very small and thin to huge coffee table books. So they're all over the place. But today I want to look at 3 different coffee table books that are my favorites based on the horror film genre. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff I love. And today, my top 3 horror film books. One is written by a famous director, and one is written by a famous guitarist from a premier heavy metal group. So let's take a look at them. The first book I want to show you is called The Art of Horror Movies, and it's by Stephen Jones. Now, this is organized by decades, and it's a mix of poster art and original artwork, but it does focus on the art of horror, just like the title says. It's a hardbound book, as you can hear. And let's take a look at the table of contents. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And you can see how it's organized. You have the Sinister Silence that covers silent films and German Expressionism. The Thrilling 30s. This is where we get into the famous Universal monster movies. The Frightening 40s. Noir Nightmares. The Fearsome 50s. That's the atomic aliens and the giant insects, that kind of stuff coming out of the atomic age. The Stylish 60s, and that's where we get into the Hammer films. Satanic 70s, obviously the Exorcist from the early 70s or middle 70s. The Evil 80s, Freddy comes into it, and Jason, Michael Myers. The Nasty 90s, a lot of remakes. And then the 2000 Maniacs. So let's take a look at some of the different pages. So let's take a look at each chapter heading. So there you have a painting of the Phantom of the Opera, and you have the Sinister Silence. And each chapter also begins with a quote. Some are better than others. But let's take a look at, so here's the Sinister Silence. And you have separate sections based on people that really stood out. For example, here's Lon Chaney. So you really can't talk about silent horror films unless, of course, you talk about The Man of a Thousand Faces, Lon Chaney. And like I said, it's a mix of actual posters and then original artwork too. Here is the chapter on the Thrilling 30s. And there's a painting of Bela Lugosi. And once again, we have some posters, and some of the posters are from other countries. Like this one is the fiance of Frankenstein, so the bride of Frankenstein. And then you have original artwork too from different artists, their interpretations of the monster films. And, you know, captions explaining what each thing is and what each thing comes from. Going into the Frightening 40s now. And here's an interesting quote from Adolf Hitler. "What is America but beauty queens, millionaires, stupid records, and Hollywood?" Interesting. And some more artwork, original artwork there. And here he focuses on some of the moodier films, horror films from that era by Val Lewton, like The Seventh Victim, The Leopard Man, Body Snatcher, etc. Next chapter's on the Fearsome 50s, and you can see some original artwork there showing some different symbols of those 50s horror films. And he pays tribute to the Hammer horror films. I might do a video about the Hammer horror films at some point, but he's basically talking about the diabolical duo of Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. And here are some of the Hammer posters. Getting into the 60s, and there's a nice illustration of Spider Baby, which I've heard of, still haven't seen, but I need to put that on my list. And an interesting quote here, you know, a long time ago, being crazy meant something. Nowadays, everybody's crazy. Charles Manson. So we follow up a Hitler quote with a Charles Manson quote. And also, each of these sections is by a different author. And these guys are pretty much accepted experts in the horror field. Kim Newman, he appears on a lot of Blu-ray commentaries and features. And this showcases, in the 60s, the Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe adaptations. And again, a mix of original posters and then some original artwork. And some foreign also. The Satanic 70s. And this is going to focus on, here's some original artwork. This is from The Night Stalker, the Kolchak character. That was a TV movie that influenced heavily the X-Files series. And here we have another TV movie, Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black. Those two were really hugely popular. So there's some 70s stuff for you. Then we get into the evil 80s. And there's a painting of Chucky, which I never found that scary actually. And also getting into some of the Sam Raimi stuff, like the Evil Dead 2, and then the crazy film Hellraiser. And then, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street. Then getting into the nasty 90s. And that includes the work of Wes Craven. There's a portrait of him, along with Scream, which really kind of reinvented the horror film. Then the 2000 Maniacs. And here he is paying attention to some foreign horror films like The Great, Let the Right One In. And from Australia, that's from Sweden. And from Australia, The Babadook. And then England, the great horror comedy Shaun of the Dead. So this is a really good coffee table book, The Art of Horror Movies. It's about 256 pages, and hardcover is going for about $32. The next one I want to show you is called Monsters in the Movies, 100 Years of Cinematic Nightmares. And this is by the director John Landis, probably most famous for films like Animal House, American Werewolf in London, Blues Brothers, several. He does a mix of comedy and some comedy horror stuff. So this book is organized by different types of monsters. It's different sections that I'll show you, and Landis interviewing different people associated with monster movies in each section. He doesn't intend it to be an encyclopedia or a history. It's more his own personal selections. He does include a lot of foreign films, a lot of comedy, like horror comedy films, new stuff and old stuff. It's mostly stills and posters. I do want to warn you though, there is some nudity and some profanity. So if you want to get this for a young person, you might want to be aware of that. But if you open this up, this is a great opening here. Look at all the different posters he has listed here. And what a great variety, ranging from Metropolis here to Little Shop of Horrors to The Old Dark House, and even M, which I don't know if that's a horror film really, but some of these choices are kind of Interesting. Let's look at the table of contents. So as you can see, it's categorized by different types of quote-unquote monsters: vampires, werewolves, zombies, ghosts, mummies, etc. And then each section concludes with an interview with an icon or an expert. Christopher Lee interview. This is Landis interviewing them all. David Cronenberg, one of my favorites. I'll probably do a video on him at some point. Sam Raimi, etc. Let's take a look at a few of the pages here. Now he has like double page spreads like this on mad scientists. And then it's nicely done. It's very lavishly photographed. But some of it's a little bit haphazard. And there's the Reanimator. There's a lot of artwork in here. So it's a very entertaining book. And then it's, like I said, the organization is a little haphazard. Like all of a sudden you'll have this. The monster carry. It's kind of funny, like different pictures of how monsters carry usually the woman. But it's just sort of thrown in there randomly. So the organization of this book is a little odd. It kind of jumps around a lot. But it's still fun to look at. And I wanted to point out this section here because he does look at animated films as well. There's Snow White. And then he also looks at classic foreign films like The Seventh Seal. Why that is in a monster book, I really don't know. So that's my point about, I'm not quite sure about the organization of the book. And then there's another double page spread on the devil. And you'll notice it covers so many different things, including the South Park movie, in which the devil, well, if you've seen the movie, you know what he does. So it's kind of all over the place. But to his credit, he also has things like double page spreads like on dystopias, ranging from Metropolis to Soylent Green, Clockwork Orange, one of my favorites, Brazil, another favorite, another classic, Time Machine with the Morlocks, and then Minority Report, which I think is really good too. So anyway, it's a mixed bag, but it's, as you can see, it's very entertaining and well thought out, but sort of an odd organization. Anyways, that's John Landis's Monsters in the Movies. This is about 300 pages. This is the hardcover one. You can get this for about $68 now, so it's gone up, way up in price. But you can find the paperback for about $21.99. Now the third book I want to talk about is really unusual. It's called Too Much Horror Business, the Kirk Hammett Collection. Now this is written by Kirk Hammett, who's the lead guitarist for Metallica. I'm not a Metallica expert. I think I know one of their songs, but there you have it. His goal in this book is to share what he's collected, because he has one of the biggest horror memorabilia collections in the world, probably. He doesn't want to intellectualize any of it in the book. He just wanted to put it together in an exciting, entertaining way. And one of the great things about this book is the captions for each item in here he wrote himself. So it's a real personal take on why he bought this, why he put it in the collection, what it means to him. Now the way the book is organized is, I'll show you the table of contents, but the first 100 pages of this book, and it's a 224 page book, so about the first half of it is movie posters and props. And then there's an interview with Kirk Hammett about his childhood and his collecting and his music and connection to the horror films. There's another interview later on that he does with another collector. And then finally there's an interview again with him where he talks about how music influences the horror films and how horror films influence music and so on and so forth. So let's take a look And there's a painting of the creature. And let's take a look at there's Kirk Hammett right there. At the table of contents. Let me zoom in a little bit there. And you can see that he covers movie posters and props from different decades. Okay, starting in the 20s, going into the 70s and beyond. That's part one. That's about half the book. Then we have Toys and Mass, another interview with him. Toys from different decades and mass he's collected. And then artwork he's collected. I don't know where he stores all this stuff. I do know that sometimes he has to get other people to buy things for him because, like most high-profile celebrity collectors, if the seller knows that he is the one buying it, they're going to up the price. So they have to deal with that. But you can see this is all his collection, this entire book. It's almost like a collection, rather a catalog of what he's collected. This is all his private collection here. Let's take a look at a couple of interesting pages. There's like the chapter. There we go. There's the chapter spreads right there. And a couple of pages I wanted to show you. Okay, I like this one because I really like these classic 50s films. And these are all original posters that he's collected through the years. And each caption, like I said, for the items, he wrote. So this is his own personal take about what it means to him, maybe where he got it, etc. And then he has props, like this is one of the Martians from the great Invaders from Mars, which I'll probably talk about in another video. So he's got a lot of interesting things here. But this is still all the posters, and you can see that it's really nicely done, nice color. Okay, and then I highlighted this one also because he has Carnival of Souls, Black Sunday, which is the Bava film. He's got Psycho, Mothra. So look at the range. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Brides of Dracula. Got a big range of different types of films from different types of filmmakers. So it's just an amazing collection of stuff he's collected. There's some toys and stuff. And some books, comic books. And here are some Aurora models. If you're around my age, I'm 64, you might remember these models of the different Universal monsters they used to sell, and you can put the models together yourself. He's got all this stuff. Different toys and stuff. Mass. These are replicas of Mass because he said the original Mass are just way out of his budget, so they must be incredibly expensive. And then there he is playing his guitar, and there, see if I can zoom in on this. There are some of his guitars with the monster theme on them. Or the horror theme on them, rather. And so, very cool book. Another hardcover book without any kind of slipcover on it. So it's very unusual. The only drawback on this one is it's tough to find for a decent price. I've seen them starting at $88. I paid like $30 for this when it came out. So that's the tough part. But it's 224 pages, Too Much Horror Business by Kirk Hammett. And finally, I have a honorable mention. This book is called Creature Features, the Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Movie Guide by John Stanley. And it's a guide. It's not a colorful coffee table book like the other ones I showed you. It's an updated edition, which I have here. I got many, many years ago. This covers films up to the year 2000. I don't think there's an updated one after this. There are, so this is to look up films and see if maybe they're worth your while. Let me zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, there's no guide words on top, but it's laid out really well that you can find stuff really fast if you want to because of the bold type. And it gives a star rating to each one and a commentary. And if it goes by a different name, it tells you that too. Okay. And there are some odd choices in here. For example, he includes films like Failsafe and Escape from LA. I don't see how those would be horror films or science fiction films, although I guess some stuff in it's kind of scary. Anyways, if you're looking for a movie guide book about horror films, that's just a movie guide, this is the one to get, I think. Creature Features. This one is by John Stanley. It's a little over 600 pages. The paperback is now going for a lot, for $36, but I think you can find it used starting at about $10. So there you have it. Those are my top 3 picks for horror film books: The Art of Horror, Monsters in the Movies, Too Much Horror Business, and then my honorable mention, Creature Features. So if you have a horror film fan in your family or a loved one, and you're looking to get them something, I hope this helped you a little bit. Feel free to leave a comment. Maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's something you'd like to recommend. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Otherwise, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.